pressed play. A stranger's voice, calm as a doctor at your bedside, said, "You're wrong. You're all wrong." The tape hissed like rain on foil. "But I can help you fix it," the voice added, almost kind. It was 2:57 a.m. My kitchen held the smell of cold coffee and wet street. Outside, orange lamps smeared themselves across black asphalt. On my table sat a shoebox that did not belong to me. Blue painter's tape kept the lid in place, the way a friend's hand keeps a secret and lets it slip. Inside, photocopies, handwritten notes, a cheap USB drive, and a postcard with 3 words. You missed it. I make a true crime podcast. I am not a cop. I don't carry a gun. I carry a microphone and a stubborn streak. A year ago, I did a series on a cluster the press called the Night Window Cases. Scenes where fear itself looked organized. Back then, the official line was clean. A drifter, male, late 30s to 40s, smart but impulsive, hands rough, no fixed address. We were told he'd make a mistake. We were told to trust the process. There was another name in the coverage, a civilian consultant with a soft voice and a softer cardigan. Dr. Adrian Cole. He brought muffins to press briefings and kept one hand in his pocket like a teacher pausing a class. He spoke in small words that felt like warm blankets. "This is simple," he'd say to cameras. "Follow the science and ignore the noise." People slept to that sentence. What I remembered most from the old files wasn't blood or broken glass. It was a small, human thing. In one scene, a cheap wall clock had been moved 2 inches to the left, leaving a paler square on the paint. I wrote that detail in the margin back then, a note to myself with a question mark. Why move a clock? Why 2 inches? The reports never found a use for it. The detail just hung there like a nail after a picture's been taken down. Now the box sat on my table and the tape hissed, and the voice on the USB said, "You told people you wanted the story, not the rumor. Good. What you missed is not a detail. It is the frame, a beat of breath, then the line that lodged itself behind my eyes. I am the frame." I called the few people who still pick up after midnight. One of them was Louisa Grant, retired profiler, who never said certainty when she meant chance. "Don't treat this like a confession," she told me. "Treat it like a pitch." Then, almost as an afterthought, "And lock your doors." I looked at my door. I locked it. The next morning, I pulled the old binder from my closet, timelines, photos, public records, and spread pages across the table like I was dealing cards to ghosts. I hit play again. "You all saw the same thing because I told you where to stand," the voice said. "Frames and standing places." Louisa's words about pitches, my own notes about a clock that had been moved 2 inches and then ignored. I wrote "frame" in green marker at the top of a blank sheet and started over. The Night Window Cases earned their name for a small, cruel fact. In each scene, a window had been left open by inches. Not the way in, not the way out, just open, as if the air itself were the witness. The press called it a signature. I called it that too. Signature sounds like salvation when you want the world to have rules. I called Detective Anna Ramirez, who'd taken the second case personally and professionally and still wore both loads. "I remember you," she said. "You were the one with questions about the window and the shoes." I told her I had new audio and a box of public docs with circles on them energy. She exhaled. "If you're going to do this again," she said, "don't do it halfway. If you find something that can hurt living people, Don't put it on a show. Bring it in. I will, I said. I meant it. But I also hit record because stories are doors. Some open rooms, some open traps. I worked through the papers. Most were public. Inter-agency emails, call center tip logs, press releases with sentences circled like bruises. An internal memo described a task force meeting where the agenda had changed last minute. Next to the add-on item, adopt preliminary profile. Someone had scribbled a name, Cole. The profile itself looked like it had appeared whole, like a suit bought off the rack that happened to fit everyone. I took the box to Louisa. She made tea that tasted like the color green and cleared her dining table. People like frames, she said, as we sorted stacks. Frames tell us where to look. Bias is inside you. A frame is outside you. Bias is the lens. A frame is the gallery. If someone builds the gallery, your careful lens won't save you. You'll still look at the wrong wall. She slid a stack of call center logs to me. Read the phrasing, she said, not the content. The phrasing. I read 3 states, 3 months, 3 different operators, and each anonymous caller started with a softener and a promise. I want to help. I'm not trying to confuse you. Let's keep it simple. Sometimes the word wasn't there, but the rhythm was. Statement, statement, soft landing. A 3-beat sentence with a cushion at the end. Louisa's pencil tapped. Hear how the comma shows up like a metronome? She asked. How simple words replace precise ones. That's a style, not proof. A hint. A hint wasn't enough, so I kept looking. In an old radio feature about volunteer grief work, there was Doctor. Cole in a photo, arranging chairs. The caption read, "A helper at heart." On his clipboard, visible in the Zoom scan, the first line said, "Keep it simple." I called ASAC Carter, the assistant special agent in charge, who'd been the voice at the barricades back then. "We've done our review," he said, crisp as a pressed shirt. "We followed policy." We pursued leads. Did anyone ever audit where the official profile actually came from? I asked. You think it was wrong? I think it became a mirror. It reflected what you believed back to you. A pause long enough to count the tiles on my floor. Your podcast uses drama, he said. We use evidence. Then the line died. I recorded the first episode that night. I kept the hook clean. A tape that says you missed a frame. A town that liked a phrase because it helped them sleep. I didn't accuse. I asked. I talked about my notes and the 2-inch clock. I said, if I'm right, the person who helped write the official story also wrote the script the killer wanted. The morning it aired, my inbox opened its jaws. Memories, hate, fatigue, thank yous. And one email that was just a chess night. At 4 p.m, a blocked number rang. I should have let it pass. I didn't. The voice said, gentle as a teacher, let's keep it simple. He talked as if we'd been mid-conversation all day. You're doing something dangerous with very little, he said. Hints and pieces. You could hurt people who have been hurt enough. Turn your focus away from me. Who are you? I'm the person who kept this clean, he said. I'm the one who showed your heroes how to be helpful. You ate. You smiled. You said thank you. If you're proud of it, why hide? He laughed like chalk on a board. 'Cause pride has costumes, he said. A badge in public, pajamas at home, a scarf when it wants to be someone else. You're not ready. The line clicked. I took the USB and the logs to Ramirez the next morning. She led me to a small room that smelled like toner and old coffee. "I can't stop your show," she said, "but if you have evidence, we need it before your fee does." I gave her copies, kept copies. She looked tired in the way a person looks when they've memorized the weight of other people's grief. That afternoon, a manila envelope waited at my door. Inside, a draft of a speech with red edits that looked like Dr. Cole's tidy handwriting. At the top, a note. "Don't give them 5 options. Give them 1. Underline 1. Say simple. Smile here." I took it to Louisa. "He's not confessing," she said, reading. "He's bragging. He wants you to be his best reader." "Why me?" "Because you're the one who noticed the frame. That makes you part of the gallery he's building." In the second episode, I told listeners a smaller story. A magician who doesn't force your card, just gives you a deck that makes you choose his card, and then act surprised. We call it free will. The magician calls it Tuesday. I played short clips, the softener phrases from tips, the calm cadence at a presser, the way the comma falls like a cue. The response got louder. Some called me brave, some called me cruel. Cole went on live radio and did the thing he does: respect journalists, value evidence, disapprove of young creators chasing drama. He didn't say my name. He said the show's name once, then corrected himself as if he'd slipped, and then forgave himself publicly. It was a masterclass in sounding like the adult in the room. That night, a second envelope, a printout of a seminar handout with a neat square drawn next to his name on the sign-in sheet. The square matched one beside his name on a grief group volunteer log found in the box, and another next to his name on a press office visitor sheet. A doodle, a signature in disguise, or just a man who likes tidy geometry, not proof, but a pattern that cleared its throat and waited to be noticed. Louisa had a prescription. "Invite him to tea," she said, "not a showdown." A kitchen table, a public place, many exits, many cameras. He will come if he thinks he can win by being calm. I wrote to the email on his academic site. I said I wanted to understand his point of view. I said Louisa would be there, that we'd set terms about what was on and off the record. He replied in 10 minutes. He began with a sentence he couldn't help himself from using. We met at a small café with too many ferns. He arrived on time, grey suit, soft tie, coat folded over an arm. He shook Louisa's hand first, teacher to teacher. With me, he used the look that says, "You finally asked a good question." "You've been busy," he said, steam from his cup lining up with his breath. "I listen. I read. I care." "I'm sure you do," I said. "Let's not make this a game," he said, smiling because he knew what the word did as it left his mouth. "I don't think you're a monster," I told him. "I think you like control. I think you like to hear your own phrasing come back from other mouths. Control is better than chaos," he said, voice lowered. "If you've ever stood in a room where the worst thing has happened and everyone is shouting, you would know the value of a hand that says stop. Look. Simple." Louisa asked, "Control for what?" "For who?" "For the outcome we can live with," he said. He did not say who he was. "You want me to put your name next to suspect?" I said. "It will get downloads. It will feel like justice. But it will be simple. That's your word, not mine." He tilted his head, almost proud. "Language is not DNA," he said, when I mentioned cadence, commas, and the soft landings. It's a smudged fingerprint. Even a smudge can match a hand, I said. He finished his tea. You'll do what you do. I'll do what I do. People will believe what they need to sleep. He gave me a quote for the record then. 4 words he believed in like a creed. The meeting ended in ordinary light. He walked away like a man who just solved a classroom dispute and was late to another. Between episodes, I went quiet and worked. Ramirez had the lab look at the anonymous tips we'd flagged. Stylometry is not magic, and our lab is not a TV lab. But across several documents, they saw small, consistent habits. Simple words where colleagues chose technical ones. That 3-beat soft landing rhythm. A telltale comma before and when none was needed. Nothing you'd arrest on, something you'd keep. I wrote the next episode around the café and the lab. I played short loops so the ear could learn the shape of a voice. I kept it measured. I said, what if the person who sounded safe taught us to mistake safety for truth? A week later, a thin consequence arrived. A local government statement about an external review of communication practices around task force advisory roles. No names, no fireworks, but a chair moved 2 inches left. A reporter at a small station said on air that Dr. Cole had taken a leave. Officially, it was to focus on research and community service. That's how institutions say, we blinked. The same afternoon, Ramirez called with something sharper. One of the anonymous tips includes a detail that was never public, she said. A clock moved a couple inches left, leaving a light square. She had found a later public lecture by Cole, where he told an anecdote about walking into a room and seeing a cheap clock move 2 inches to the left. Could be coincidence. Could be the sound of the frame creaking. That night, a burner email. Come alone. An address. An old community center at the edge of town. I forwarded it to Ramirez. She texted 3 words. Don't be stupid. I promised I wouldn't go. I sat with my keys in my hand anyway. Midnight, another email. A security still of the community center's side door. No one in frame. 5 minutes later, a second still, taken from somewhere I knew too well. My own kitchen. Me at my table, my face in my hands. Caption, simple. I left for a friend's place and slept on a couch that smelled like dog and old pizza. In the morning, there was a thick paper note under the door. I won't harm you. I need you. You are the gallery now. No signature. A small square drawn in ink. I considered shutting everything down. Louisa held my gaze like a bridge holds a road. Tell a smaller story, she said. The human one. Complexity is not the enemy. Mystery is not the enemy. Pretense is. So I did an episode about families. I didn't use names. I didn't inventory their pain like a shelf in a sad store. A mother described the sound her son's name makes when you say it without him. A brother talked about songs he can't listen to because they belong to a time that no longer exists. I kept their words like small stones in a pocket. The download numbers were lower. It was the right thing to do. The penultimate episode was supposed to be tidy. It wasn't. The lab called with another almost. Across public writing and tips, there was a contraction habit. He disliked them, said so in an interview once. And when he slipped into one, he sometimes wrote, "You're where you belonged," at the end of a 3-beat sentence with a soft landing. Not a gun, a smudge. I put it in, careful and small. I recorded the finale with less breath in my chest. You want handcuffs? I said. You want a headline? Me too. But maybe the true end is a set of ideas corrected. Maybe the end is a team looking again at old files without one calm voice telling them which wall is worth looking at. I said his name with the word question next to it, not answer. I listed what we had: the meeting agenda change, the adopted profile without clear parentage, the phrasing in tips that matched his public cadence and habit with commas, the neat square beside his name in multiple logs, the clock detail echoed in a lecture, the leave taken while an external review assembled its nouns. None of it was proof. All of it was direction. Before I hit upload, I called the families I'd spoken to. I told them what I was going to say. Some thanked me, some didn't. One asked me to be kind. I tried. I waited for impact. Nothing exploded. That can be the shape of change. A week passed. There were meetings I didn't attend and rooms I wasn't invited into. There were statements using the words review and process and ongoing. The task force announced it would revisit advisory protocols and re-examine certain assumptions that informed the early phase of the investigation. When you've been around institutions long enough, you learn to hear the volume under those words. It wasn't loud, it wasn't quiet. I walked the river loop with Louisa. The water was the color of the inside of a spoon. "You didn't catch a killer," she said. "I know." "You moved a chair," she said. "You opened a curtain." "You told people the gallery is a room, not the sky." I wanted more. So did he. We passed a bench with a heart carved into it. We passed a child feeding bread to ducks that didn't want bread. The city was ordinary. It was the best thing I'd seen all month. That night, one last envelope waited under my door. A postcard. A white wall with a small square shadow where a picture used to hang. On the back, frames are everywhere. No signature, no square. I put it in a drawer. I went to my microphone. I spoke softly, so the room could hear me without flinching. This was a story about a person who fooled people by choosing where we looked, I said. It was also a story about how easy it is to help him do it. It was about me. It was about you. It was fiction. It felt true because truth isn't a headline. It's a practice. I pressed stop. I pressed upload. I made tea that tasted like nothing at all. I closed my window, not for monsters, for drafts. I locked my door and promised myself to unlock it when friends knocked. In the weeks after, listeners wrote that they moved frames in their own lives and some slept better. Others wrote that I had destroyed a good man. Both could be wrong. Both could be a little bit right. The shoebox lives on the top shelf of my closet, not a trophy, a reminder. Next time a calm voice tells me to keep it simple, I'll ask who paid for the frame. And if you listened all the way here, thank you. If you liked it, share it. If you didn't, that's okay. We tell stories to learn, to remember, to change the frame.
Case closed. Archived in the synthetic vault. If you dare to return, the next file awaits. truecrime.exe. The line between fiction and fear.